Hey y'all, it's David Ducker, Josh Pullman, coming back at you, and today we're going to be doing a character profile for Josh's character from Return of the Runefangs, Donnie Orr, or Albrecht Bear. So we're just going to run through the lineup. This way, anybody watching the recaps, and I mentioned Donnie Orr, now you get to have some inside perspective. I mean, you could already check out his character portrait at Return of the Runefangs on Facebook. You can already check out his theme song at Return of the Runefangs on Facebook. But let's actually get some talking done about the man. So Josh, we're going to go down the character sheet here. Mm-hmm. Let's start with appearance. So what does Donnie Orr look like?
Donnie Orr is actually, a little bit below average height there. He's about 5'9", 5'8". So a little shorter than, he's much shorter than all of the big, burly, damn knights that we're adventuring with. Well, I say adventuring. I have no idea what you would actually call it. Politicking?
Sure.
Okay. He's actually very clean-shaven. He has a bowl cut. Even he has the white squire robes on with the tabard of his lord, his knight. Actually, the great Pegasus knight.
That would be like a blue and white tabard with some gold filigree. Of course, depicting the winged unicorn, which is a mythical creature. Even in a fantasy setting, there's no such thing as a winged unicorn. That's just ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Crazy Todd.
And so he takes great efforts to keep his appearance clean and presentable, and he's not trained in the knightly arts so much. He's more of a valet than he is a proper squire. Now, this is, of course, how he's presented to the group, which is an interesting distinction, actually, because Donnie Orr was always designed to be a bit of an onion, but not an ogre. And the group knows this now as well, right? Even if it's only meta knowledge, but he's not exactly what he appears to be. Now, the character art that Dave has kindly uploaded on Return of the Runefangs on Facebook.
Bang bang! We got the plug going on.
Is definitely more characteristic, as he's not born to the nobility. He was never trained with swords and horses. He's actually been thrown from every animal he's ever ridden.
I think that's true. You've been thrown 3 or 4 times so far.
There was that horse initially, and then the giant bat, which, almost killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I hadn't saved the princess, then...
I think I just uploaded that. That might have been like episode 17, episode 16.
Something like that,
The Siege of Hydak.
Yeah. Oh, great session. Great session.
I believe that's actually in 3 parts because of problems I had with the filming location. So it's on like 3 videos.
And so, how do you go about incorporating a character who's this sort of convoluted and certainly lowborn to associate with nobles and knights, especially some as plucky and picky as the Veiled Knight? He's prickly.
Prickly.
Oh, he's prickly. He's going to bash my character's head in with a mace one of these days.
Yes.
And which is all fun and games. I think it adds a great element to the game personally, even though I don't generally condone PvP. Again, it's a team sport, right? It's a team game. You should generally be emphasizing teamwork as opposed to, can I bash this person's head in with my mace without anybody else discovering it, or any repercussions? If he found out I was lowborn, he would, probably in a heartbeat, because what are the repercussions for a nobleman killing a lowborn who offended him? Nothing.
But we'll definitely do a PvP video, since you keep mentioning it.
So it does stick out. It's funny how often my characters get shanked by teammates.
It happens to you all the time.
Yeah, it's funny that.
So it'll be a fun video. So we're going down the character sheet. So that is his appearance. Mm-hmm. Now we're going through personality. Talk about his personality a little bit. I actually just did a video, Villain Types, the Trickster. So So that might be a good supplementary video for your personality, but let's go and talk about Donnie Orr's how he acts.
Is, I suppose, not a bad comparison might be Kaiser Soze.
I don't know who that is.
I believe it's from the movie The Usual Suspects, maybe? Anyway, Rick had used that to describe Quentin.
Yeah.
And it was actually pretty good at the time. Of course, he also described Quentin as a combination of Skeletor, Barney, and Kaiser Soze. But, my point being is that
I miss Rick.
he
Big Daddy Rick
is a master of disguise, and he does whatever it takes to accomplish whatever his goals may be. And he can be vicious and he can be cruel, but he can also be surprisingly empathetic? No, that's the wrong word.
Sympathetic.
Sympathetic, I think, is a better term for it. But ultimately, he wants his actions to correspond to his goals. Saving a princess. Well, that's just good business practice.
Yeah, yes.
Honestly, and it almost came in handy immediately. Personality-wise, it's interesting because I'm trying to separate the true Albrecht Bear Donnie Orr with the Donnie Orr the group knows.
Oh.
Because my character's been disguised the entire time.
Oh.
And they don't actually know he's anything more than a squire.
Yeah.
This is what? 5 sessions? 4?
I'm not sure exactly how many you've been on.
It's several sessions so far.
But yeah, he's a master of disguise, so he has many layers of disguise,
Mm-hmm.
sub-personalities going on.
Yeah.
Really highlights Josh's role-playing ability. And it's a great contrast. Maybe I'd do a video on Masters of Disguise, because Josh is using fairly mundane con man tricks. And we had a previous campaign with another Master of Disguise who was a magical Master of Disguise. So Josh doesn't have the magic to help him, but he's really clever about what he does with misdirection and just lies and forgery,
Mm-hmm.
where the other character just leaned heavy on the magic, and they're equally effective. They're both excellent characters. The other one played by Mike Chartrand, and I talk a lot of smack about Mike, but there's no denying when he's on, when he's bringing some thunder, he's a very strong player. And it's on record. I never cut him from any game either. He was on the whole campaign. I never want to play with him again. But he wasn't. He certainly did not detract from the game when he was there. So,
and it's interesting the way the disguises work, because a lot of it is just a quick change of clothes, a little bit of makeup or what have you, and then it's about demeanor. Because take a look at the locale, right? It's always around nobles. Nobles generally don't take too sharp a look at servants. My character is maybe just above a servant. He's a squire, right? But he's not a well-known squire from a well-known house. He's not wealthy.
It reminds me of the Zorro movie, where Zorro is going in disguise as a servant into the Don's castle, and Zorro's young apprentice says, the Don will surely recognize you, and Zorro says Don would never look into the eyes of a servant. So it's a foolproof disguise. There's no mask on. There's no nothing. It's just walking around like this, kind of with your head down, and nobody meets your eyes in that society, in that stratified political atmosphere, because they would drop themselves down in prestige just to notice you, and they're never going to do that, because we all know what happens when you don't win the Game of Thrones. So does Robert Baratheon. So anything else you want to add in about his personality, or his core personality, or to explore one of his other disguises? Because the squire is a pretty good archetype. It's kind of this young, sniveling boy.
He also, at this point, is he presents himself as the witch hunter Albrecht Bear.
Yeah.
Interestingly.
Another layer of disguise.
And when in the very few moments he's allowed to truly be Albrecht Bear, interestingly, he's almost flamboyant in his dialogue and his combat, because with Donnie Orr, he's not allowed to wield a sword, so he actually has 2 knives he uses. With the witch hunter Albrecht Bear, he uses a sword. He is actually, and so is my character, he is actually classically trained in a dueling style. So he sort of...
I believe you said he was high scorpion style.
Oh, high scorpion style, yes. Buckler and sword.
Yeah, I think I did a video on fighting styles and finishing moves, and I definitely mentioned Donnie Orr, as well as Camilla Valise, Megan's character, who had her own unique fighting styles, very well developed as well.
Southern style from the Desert Nations, the only person that Albert could actually hire to train him. But regardless, getting back on track, it is almost like split personalities to a degree in how great a change comes over Albert when he dons these ideas, and it's almost like it's starting to become a little blurred, right? Which is the original.
Which is so much fun. I mean, if you watch Game of Thrones, you look at Arya Stark going through all their different guises, and a little bit of each personality is left behind when she moves on. So, throw another ingredient in the stew, which is you. And it's really, really interesting. It's fun to watch it happen.
Well, especially with the ignorance of the party to the wider background here, and sort of his mission.
Yeah, we have varying degrees of ignorance in the party. We have like willful ignorance from Ulrich. We have well-meaning ignorance from Blaine. And then Theodore Lyons is kind of like a sleepy ignorance. He just misses things.
Although Sir Blaine actually was funny because when last session, Albrecht Bear, Donnie Orr got eaten. He got eaten by a cave lizard.
I think that was
Sticky tongue.
Episode 17?
17 or 18, I think.
I think so.
There'll be more to that. But no, I was talking to Blaine's character because he was driving me home, and he's like, "Oh yeah, after the session, we were going to interrogate the shit out of you. We were going to pin you against the wall and ask you some kind questions, and if you didn't answer us, we were going to start cutting bits off." It's like, holy shit.
Well, he never told me that.
No.
I love it when the players have plans that they don't tell the GM.
Yeah, no, so that was actually going to be very interesting. Like, do I come clean? Do I adopt another identity on the fly?
Well, that would be when you switched into probably Albrecht Bear, the witch hunter, because you've already got these layers set up to go. That's one thing about a master of disguise. You have to have several different disguises already prepped so that you can jump into them at a moment's notice. If you watch the Val Kilmer film, The Saint, he's got 6 or 7 disguises, and he keeps recycling them over and over. It's like a roster of personalities that he has.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So I think that's good for personality.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about his history, his backstory.
Yeah, that's where that music tie comes in. The backstory.
Yeah, the theme song is "Am I Evil" by Diamond Head or Metallica. They both do excellent versions.
The backstory is interesting. Go ahead.
You can find them performing it together on the same stage. In fact, there's a YouTube video of that. I was very happy to find it.
I'll have to watch it after we finish here. For the backstory, I actually made sure that there were certain opportunities for Dave to interpret things a different way from Donnie, or that he could interject on his own. There are very obvious visible gaps, and some I pointed out, and some Dave sort of invented on his own. He definitely assisted me in the creation of the backstory because he has certain tastes for what he wants to see and what he wants to do.
Well, just what fits with other party members and the setting in general as well.
And you have your own machinations, which I'm unaware of, I'm sure. I don't know if I have secret tie-ins with other players or other houses that you've built. I will find out, I'm sure. But for the backstory, I wanted something about as far away from nobility as you could get. I wanted somebody born with a chip on their shoulder and it just gets bigger. Somebody who it made sense to kind of go the way he had. And with that, how much detail do you want on that? Just the whole
thing? As much as you want, whatever you want.
Okay.
I think Charles watches these, but his character has sources of information anyway. So.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah. Now, an important thing to note is that Albrecht Bear, Bear is the bastard surname of Averland. You can look at the whole chart of bastard names on Return of the Runefangs on Facebook, but anyone who meets this character and hears the last name Bear, that's got a very negative connotation for most people. Right off the bat, everybody knows that he's baseborn.
But on the alternative side, as a witch hunter, Albrecht Bear is he's not immune to the sociocultural sort of connotations to bear, but people are forced to accept that because as a witch hunter, he has the ability to call an inquisition on a house if he feels that it is dabbling in things it shouldn't, if it's dealing with and not just the witch hunter, but as an agent of the empire and the church. He has to look out for the empire. So if they're dabbling with orcs and whatever, he has to report that or take matters into his own hands. So whenever a noble finds a witch hunter in his house, you either, I guess, kill that witch hunter, I assume if you're actually doing something negative, or you try and convince them, however you can, no, I'm perfectly on level here. And most nobles, aren't. They're usually dabbling in something illegal. Some, right? That's my assumption.
We had a great scene with Baron Siegfried Waldberg interrogating Albrecht, and because Albrecht had used some magic, and it went bad, and a demon was summoned in the Baron's castle, and the Baron was and Albrecht's waking up from this demonic possession, and the Baron's interrogating him, like, who are you really? There's illusions all over you. Albrecht, he slipped into his next layer of disguise, which is the witch hunter. And, he said, well, I'm actually a witch hunter. And the Baron is like, oh.
I don't think I ever
I'm so sorry. And the Baron's like apologizing to him.
I don't think I ever said I was a witch hunter.
You implied it so strongly.
But I implied it strongly, and then he immediately took it off. Yeah. And I just ran with that. Essentially, my original goal was just to be an agent of the Empire, but he's like, and I'm like, oh, well, that's actually more convenient.
So it's great, especially since Baron Siegfried is so authoritarian. He's such a leader. He's such an iron-willed kind of guy. And then to see him have this total reversal when he hears about, you could call an Inquisition down. Well, even a badass like myself doesn't want to fool around with the Inquisition.
No, there's burning irons and torture, and it's all Warhammer. Dark!
Yeah, it's very grimdark.
So let's, and it was a very interesting scene, actually.
Great scene.
It was absolutely an enormous amount of fun to see that. Because the last two sessions had been Baron Siegfried being this iron badass to all the knights and everyone, and alluding to basically that I'm investigating something, but I'm not allowed to speak on it. And he's like, "Are you investigating me?"
It made him very, very paranoid. And there could, of course, be repercussions to that. If we pass back through Heideck,
which is
might see that, maybe the Baron has launched some kind of inquisition just from seeing a witch hunter. You never know.
It's hard to see, and that would be an interesting perspective to take. Of course, that he also doesn't have the authority to call an inquisition. So
no, but it could be an informal kind of inquisition.
That's true.
Which is, of course, the dirtiest kind of inquisition. So the backstory, which long tangent there, but the backstory is you're baseborn. Anything else you wanted to elaborate on the backstory?
Basically, Well, go into some extra detail here. Albrecht's mother was a prostitute, unknown father. But he comes home one day to find her horribly murdered, right? And real nasty business. So he's taken in by a member of the local thieves guild. You know, somebody he had been running errands for, but now he's basically a waif. He's a urchin at this point. He's out of house and home. He didn't even have time to really say goodbye to the body because his landlord foreclosed on the house after finding it, dumped the body in trash, or didn't even call the guards, just dumped it. Right. So a big chip on his shoulder. Big mystery, you know, who was the murderer, who was the father, what was going on here ultimately. And basically a lot of the backstory is involved with Albrecht getting vengeance on the people who wronged him. Through growing up, the guards who beat him, all the petty little wrongs that a child would remember, and eventually getting into a position where he could actually do something. And it shows something of his personality. He's not a very nice person, which is also something Dave encouraged. I normally play the lawful good, you know, rah, let's go team, let's slay the demon, smite evil kind of character. Even when I really shouldn't, like playing necromancers. He was still, you know, all about the family, the group, despite most of them stabbing him in the back eventually. But,
yeah, so I definitely, you know, try to encourage my players to push their limits and their boundaries. So seeing Josh play this really lawful good character previously, I said, let's go with something as far away from that as possible, just so that you can have a really new experience. So we're coming in with Albrecht there, and, you know, he is possibly chaotic evil, possibly only neutral evil. But a very fun character, though, and very different. So it's a challenge, and it's fresh and new.
Well, I think Albrecht Bear is Albrecht Bear, getting away from the alignment system. He's kind of a broken person in some ways. He's very good at what he does. Very good.
Yeah,
but
what he does is lie to people.
Lie to people, hurt people, manipulate people. So far he's gotten the party to do exactly what he wants. And they're maybe a little for the wiser, but he keeps having other NPCs back him up on this because he's convinced them, and they're like, oh, well, you should... like the Baron, for example, spoke to Ulrich and said, you should trust young Donnie.
Yeah.
He's more than he seems. It's like, oh, yeah. Ulrich was very taken aback, like, okay, Baron, Siegfried.
Yeah.
Which was also a good scene. But
all the Baron scenes I thought were pretty good.
They generally come out quite well, and I'm enjoying, and basically enjoying most of the higher lords. You give them good personalities. But we keep getting away from the main topic.
Yeah,
here,
we
backstory. And I mean, ultimately, he does know a little bit of magic, you know, to supplement some of his disguise skills. Shadow Mage from the 2nd edition Warhammer book, so it's very interesting to see what he can do.
Yeah, and I loved the irony that he's disguised as a witch hunter when in fact he's actually more like a witch.
Yeah,
because he's not been trained by the colleges of magic.
And he ended up. Oh, he does have the sword Durandal. Actually,
magical sword.
Magical sword of elven make, probably named by the previous witch hunter who owned it, which says enough. And we may encounter her sometime later.
Yeah.
We'll see. But it certainly is a very convincing component of the disguise.
Now, Josh, I actually, now that you mentioned that, I've noticed that a couple of your different characters have had like romantic subplots going on. Is that something you really enjoy in games? Getting that romance subplot?
I don't know if I necessarily enjoy it. To be honest, it's never actually occurred in any game I've ever played in.
You tried in the last one, and it kind of got shot down. But now, you know, you're trying again in this one, and you're getting several different romance subplots.
Well, yeah. Maybe. Basically, to me, it's just throwing more hooks at the DM to be like, hey, you can interpret this however you want. Maybe it backfires. Maybe it turns into an alliance. And I always thought of Albrecht as a bit of a lech, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's very fast and loose with women. He's a natural liar. He's very charismatic, very cruel, and very good at manipulating. And in my perspective, I mean, you see a lot of abusive relationships that start off like that.
Yeah.
And he is sort of an abuser. He's not a very nice person, like I said. That being said, that certainly doesn't play a very strong role in it. And the only people he's actually been attempting to seduce or like actually could legitimately kick his ass.
Yeah.
So
one of them did.
Yeah, actually severely.
In a duel back in I think it was episode 16. Was in a duel with a dame of the Order of the Black Bear, and he was stabbed.
Stabbed in the side, actually.
Yes.
She ended up losing barely.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, you're right. You did
But
defeat
it was
her
a Pyrrhic victory.
by letting her stab you.
Yeah, basically. It was a Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah.
But it had ended up in some good role-playing, some good connections being made, and further cementing Albrecht's sort of disguise as a witch hunter.
Yeah.
Which is always good when you have nobles. You can swear on their oath that, yes, he is a witch hunter.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about party dynamics, his relationships with the other party members. So with the Veiled Knight and with Sir Blaine, and I don't even believe he's met Theodore Lyons.
Not
that I can recall.
really. He's seen Theodore Lyons.
Yeah.
Because Theodore was there that one time.
In the parade, yeah.
In the parade, and also I think he was eating. But he's never spoken to Theodore Lyons, but he recognized him. He knows who Theodore Lyons is. That's a different sort of plot point there. But it's interesting because my disguise is as a squire, so I can't be too familiar with them.
Mm-hmm.
I do run errands for them. I get their mounts ready when we're about to ride out.
Which gives Albrecht a lot of time to do his own errands as well. Which
Yes.
is great.
Actually, which is uniquely useful, actually. But for the most part, it's very neutral. Though that has changed now since we attempted to take on the orcs. They know something's up, and Ulrich and Donnie were butting heads there pretty seriously.
Yeah.
Like I said before, Ulrich wants to crush Donnie's skull. Because of a comment. Well, Donnie knows a little bit of magic, and Ulrich was recently cursed by either a demon or the goddess.
Tzinch.
Oh, Tzinch, yeah.
Shalia turned her back on Ulrich, and Tzinch stepped in and said, "Oh, I'll help you," and cast evil magic on him instead of healing him.
Yeah.
Disfigured him even more. Although his jaw is more functional than it was, but it looks hideous and monstrous.
Yeah, and Ulrich is very much was a preening peacock. He was very proud of how handsome and attractive he was. He had lady suitors and all that, and he's just been
before the scar.
And I'm so tired of it, in and out of character.
Yeah,
I think it's an interesting component, but Donnie basically told him to get over it and man up. And to tell that to a noble, especially from a lower position, Ulrich was like handling his mace, and you're like,
yeah, he's like gripping his mace, and he's
he didn't appreciate it
so bad.
But at this point, he knows something's up because Donnie knows how to speak Orc, Goblinoid,
the black
and
tongue.
Speak it, read it. He's been backed by a baron of all people.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
And
a very powerful baron too, because the other both of the other barons in Averland are like 14-year-old boys. So Baron Siegfried is really the big powerhouse in the region, other than the Countess. But she again, she's a woman, so in their society, he's almost like the guy with the biggest reputation as a badass.
Yeah,
which is very important for knights.
It's true. She may be more effective at politicking and manipulation.
And Baron's a terrible politicker.
Yeah, but she loses some just because of the prejudices of this medieval society, which is unfortunate. She's an interesting character, but what were we talking about there?
Relationships.
Right. All right. So yeah, I'm translating this. Oh, that's right. He called my character a bastard,
Yes.
and my character is terrified of that. He's terrified of people finding out who he really is. He's layered himself behind so many lies and concealments and half-truths that having somebody actually kind of get to the point of things, even if accidentally, really kind of pisses him off. So I told him he needs to get a bigger veil to cover that new scar of his, because it's a magic curse. My character's magical. That's where I was going with this. So it irradiates a little bit. I was able to do a etheric attunement sort of check and be like, oh, well, something's up there. I made a guess. The servants were talking, and he was pissed,
very angry.
Whoa! And then we have this staring contest in character. It's great, real tense.
Yeah, and I think the NPC came in and interrupted it.
He did.
To keep you guys from killing each other.
Yeah, he did. Sir Blaine was just like, let's see where this goes.
Yeah. And Pablo was like too scared to say anything.
And then as soon as that is over, we just start like, that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to see out of character. They get excited about the awesome role-playing scene they were doing.
Yeah, even though my character's at a big disadvantage fighting Ulrich. Like, Ulrich is in full plate, he's this big burly knight, half-plate, sorry, and my character is a squire. He's in hard leather armor, he's weakened from Manticore Venom, he lost in a point of endurance, he's really hurt.
It's a man who survived Manticore poison, the deadliest poison in the world.
Yeah, so, it's serious news.
Can't eat spicy food anymore.
No. And he's a little gimpy, all told. Ogre lands right through the thigh with Manticore Venom. Fortunately, magical healing and called in a favor from the Baron, and there he goes.
Yeah, and that's his main relationship so far.
With the party, yeah. Sir Blaine, it's mostly, what would you... it's more professional.
Yeah.
Certainly, and Donnie respects Blaine as a knight more so than Ulrich, I think, because Ulrich may be a better combatant, but he's less stoic.
I'd say they're about equal.
Well,
probably. Combat prowess.
It's just that damn hiding a scar, like Donnie, you couldn't do that if you're lowborn. You just can't. You just tough it out, suck it up into your work.
Yeah.
And Donnie, who dislikes nobles, is like, he's being a pampered noble, right? Not that he's actually seen the new disfigurement, which is pretty serious. Not that he actually saw the original disfigurement he just heard about.
Well, yeah, he didn't see it with the veil. So.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, he did. Because,
when he lost it in the shipwreck.
Yeah, he lost it in the shipwreck. Yeah, that's right. Anyway. So that sort of sums up his relationships with the PCs, sort of polite respect, tempered with professionalism with Blaine, and a heated dislike of Sir Ulrich, but also the knowledge that contacts nobilities, and Ulrich does have a measure of power. Plus, he's a powerhouse on the field of combat, so, if you do piss him off, try and do it from a distance.
Yeah.
And Theodore Lyons, who he's seen from a distance and knows a bit about. So, and that's about it. Honestly.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to add about Albrecht Bear before we sign out?
Oh, yeah, this has been going on for like 20 minutes or something. Not especially. Basically, I think
that's a pretty good program.
Yeah, I think that's a good ending point, honestly, with the relationships. It's fun. He's an onion. I'm enjoying my onion.
Excellent. I also enjoy onions. So we're going to be signing off now. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you keep enjoying Return of the Runefangs and more player profiles with the other participants in that. So in the meantime, everybody just have a good day out in YouTube land.